What's it like to drive an almost 40-year-old car halfway across the country? I just did it in my '87 air-cooled 911 Porsche. I was really looking for an adventure, and this trip did not disappoint. You know, on many different levels, even before the trip, you lay in bed at night and you're wondering, you know, have I prepared the car well enough? Is it gonna make it? You know, I had that engine apart less than a year ago, staring right at the piston and making decisions about, is this gonna last me another 50,000 miles? And wondering, you know, did I put the right number of shims underneath the cam sprockets? And what about the rocker shafts? Are they gonna come loose? Am I gonna have an oil leak? Am I gonna, you know, all these things, right? And I did do a significant amount of preparation before the trip. I had the brakes off, I had the hubs off. I was going through basically everything I thought that could go wrong. I tried to circumvent that. If you have a hired mechanic, you know, they're not sitting in the seat with you. They are, you know, kind of getting the aftermath of what might have happened during the trip or what might need to get fixed. But here I am driving and thinking about all the things that the car is telling me. Is it pulling to the right? Is it braking well? Is it making sounds it shouldn't make? Is it starting up every time? You know, these things like really are part of the adventure for me. There is some safety in the fact that I was going to an organized event called the Texas Hill Country Rallye. And I was caravanning with a group of almost 10 cars by the time we got there. And that was led by Paul and Ed from Auto Kennel, which, you know, did a great job. Because I was part of that group, I just didn't really focus on filming. It takes time to set up cameras and get driving shots and all that. I took a little bit of film, but this is mostly just a summary of what it was like to do the trip. We had a lot of variability in our driving. You know, we went up to 9,600 feet in Arizona, well north of Prescott, so we traveled much further north than we needed to, but we were searching for great roads, and Paul is a master of finding great roads, so we went up to like 9,600 feet, we encountered snow. Great variability in the driving, whether we're going through, you know, deserts, straight roads, curvy roads, bumpy roads, two-lane roads. It was just great scenery and amazing terrain that we crossed. Pretty much a rally on the way to the rally. I was riding by myself from California, but we had walkie-talkies, which was actually really fun. We had, you know, heads up on next upcoming turns, things in the road. Some of the guys had radar detectors, so we were looking out for radar activity, both front and rear. So everyone was helping each other. If you wanted to go fast, you could. If you didn't want to go fast, it was also fine. You know, people in the front would wait up for you and got out of the car a lot. Bathroom breaks, cool little lunch stops. We left on Tuesday. We didn't arrive to Texas until Thursday. Felt like it was a lot of activity in the car. I felt like I was either, you know, snacking on things, trying to keep my ice chest and bags from flying all over the car as we're making some fun corners. I kind of thought that I was gonna have a lot of downtime in the car to sort of just think and reflect and, you know, be alone time, which there was some of that, but actually, I found that like I only listened to like an hour of podcasts. You know, you're just trying to keep up with the car ahead of you, or you're waving to your buddies, or you're on the CB or on the walkie-talkie. The time went pretty quick. We had a lot of ground to cover, pretty much 10-hour days. I like Smoking Tire, I like It's Not the Car, so I think I listened to like maybe 1.5 episodes of that. And I ended up just taking the AirPods out and just enjoying the car. My car is a cabriolet, which you'd think would be real loud at high speeds. And it kind of was, but one of the towns I pulled over and I ended up buying a piece of vacuum hose and I just crunched it down in the top. And it was a nice, enjoyable ride. You know, these are GT touring cars and this is what they do. They're great at it. And once I got that wind noise kind of knocked down a little bit, it was easy to have a conversation or take a phone call or anything like that. So if I was in the yellow car, it would have been a little bit more noise. It would have been actually a lot more noise. So this was a great trip for this car. I had been to the Hill Country Rally in 2022 with my friends from Laredo. Last time I borrowed a car from Juan Carlos, which was super fun. So I knew that this was a big event. And sure enough, we arrived on Thursday. The feeling of that is like, okay, I made it. The burden is kind of off about all the thoughts about maintaining the car and whether it was going to make it. But as soon as that sort of adrenaline wore off, I found myself just really tired because there was a big kind of weight of, will the car make it? But then that quickly, sort of ramps back up because there's 300 cars there, and you instantly dive right back into your old friendships that you haven't seen in a couple years, and it was just, it was fun. Like to me, it felt like high school. You're looking for something to do, you go to the parking lot, your buddies are there, you have some food, you have some drinks, everyone is in the same kind of car passion, and it's just real easy to talk to people, find out where they came from, what their trip was like. It was, yeah, I thought very high school, and a lot of camaraderie. Out of 300 cars, there was several that stood out. Mine was not one of them. I'm in a completely stock, 911 from '87. All the cars there are pre-'89. So the requirement for the car is it has to have torsion bar suspension, which '89 is the last year for the 911. But there's 944s, there's 911s, there's 912s, 914s, 356s, a whole parking lot full of Porsche people. Everyone there was really nice. It was less about the status of your car or how much your budget on the car or what's it worth. It was more about, how's your car running? Did you have fun today? What did you eat for lunch? Where did you go? Would you recommend it? Should I do this route tomorrow? Have you been to this place? It was really more about the experience and a little bit less about the cars. Of course, there was some really great cars there, a lot of custom modified stuff, and all older cars. In order to qualify for this event, it had to have torsion bars. I probably took a hard look at maybe 2 or 3 cars and really admired them for the build, but I probably talked to like 40 people that either I knew or didn't know, or several people from YouTube that know me on YouTube, came and said hello, which it just made it really like a family atmosphere. And I really like that about this event. It's not pretentious. It's, like I said, high school parking lot. It's awesome. So the 300 cars in Kerrville all sort of separate with whatever route you want to take. There's no time that tells you when to leave. You basically just get a map, you group up with your own friends, and then you guys all just decide what route you want to do. There's, I think, 10 different routes throughout the Hill Country. Every road is beautiful. Some people have their favorite lunch spots. Some people, want to take a dip in the lake or whatever. But it's pretty low key. You don't have to go fast. You don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. You can pull over and do whatever looks good. So take photos. I didn't take much photos. I was just, like I said, trying to be kind of present for the event. It was super cool. My brother-in-law, Dave, met me there, and so he did some of the driving and some of the navigating, which was really nice. But we just did a lot of real small farm roads. We did the Three Sisters, which is probably the most famous road in that Hill Country area. There's 3 of them, and then there's like a brother route. They are amazing. This amazing elevation changes. You got sweeping curves and banked corners. It's super fun. And we did that on, I think, Friday. So not crowded at all, even though there's Porsches everywhere. You just, flash your lights, wave, people coming and going, and it was really fun. I think everybody there probably had a favorite Porsche. But one of the guys I met at the rally said it best, what's your favorite Porsche? Well, the answer is, it's the one I'm currently driving. He had a chance to drive my car, and it's just great feedback. Like he helped me diagnose a couple things that I had noticed on my car. When you drive it around town, it drives great, the brakes work fine, everything's even. When you start to push it hard in the corners and you're hitting brakes hard and you're entering corners, you could feel it pulling a little bit to the right. It only does this when you're hard on the brakes or, you know, getting ready to turn in. And I think we collectively thought that this is the suspension bushings are worn out, which is something that I haven't addressed. And I think the corner balance is off, and I think it needs an alignment. So those kind of things I didn't have time for. I was very aware of those deficiencies, and it really rears its head when you're driving the car hard. And his comment was, it's a great car, it just, you'll have a little bit more confidence in the capability of the car once you get the bushings dialed in and corner balanced and stuff, which I totally agree. And you would never know that if you didn't take the car. It's something that you really get from driving long periods of time, and you drive it a little harder than you do around the city. So that was super enlightening. And actually, you get to know more about the car the more you like it. Even though the list of things to fix is getting longer, you have these experiences with the car and you just kind of begin to like it even more. And my car, fared pretty well. I did have a starter issue, which I've never had before. It's probably the original starter, and it doesn't want to work when it's hot. Now, I drive that car almost every day in California here. I've never had it not start. But if you soak it after like 10 hours of driving, lots of hills, putting a lot of torque in the transmission, the heat builds up, limited slip differential. It got the starter hotter than usual, and there was a couple times when you go to turn the key and it didn't even click. The solenoid is just locked. It would not do anything. But you just radio, hey, my car's not started. It's awesome. Like 2 or 3 guys hop out, quick push start. They're like, got me going. Don't worry about it. This happens to everybody. So even though that's probably the worst thing that happened to the car, I didn't feel like I shouldn't drive it because I knew that there was people helping, and we helped other people too. A couple, things happened along the road, but we all made it, and it was kind of part of the fun. I expected there to be something wrong with my car and everyone else's car, but at the end of the day, we all made it, and that was just kind of part of the dinner conversation. What starter do you use? Well, I like the high torque starter. Should I get the Bosch one rebuilt? No, you probably shouldn't, because they don't make them anymore. You have to get the remanufactured ones, which are, probably not as good as the brand new ones. A lot of guys helped each other, like, oh, hey, you left your lights on, or what about your gas cap? I saw it on the roof. Don't forget your gas cap. Your hood's not latched. Hey, you forgot to latch your hood. Make sure you check your hood. Make sure it's closed. Difficult to be an owner kind of mechanic and have all these cursed thoughts running through your head. But it's also, more gratifying because I think I do understand what the car was telling me, and it's just a great relationship to kind of push the car, and then the car pushes back and says, yeah, you need to fix this, or yeah, this part is great. Engine did great, power was great, transmission was amazing, steering was great, alignment was good. We just, like I said, discovered like that starter issue and the brake issue. I did have the hood badge flew off. I'm not going to tell you how fast we were going, but at some point the hood badge flew off. And come to find out, when you look at what's left of the hood badge, somebody had glued it on, which is it's not correct. It should have like pins that protrude through, and it should be attached from the bottom. So that wasn't my fault, not Porsche's fault. I got a rock in the headlamp lens, or not the headlamp, the fog light. So I got a little hole in the fog light lens. To be expected, maybe a rock chip here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, it was totally worth it. Oh, my tail light I had a bad bulb in the tail light or a corroded socket or something. So that kind of was working part of the time, not working the other time. But other than probably the big one, which was the starter, the car really did amazing. I ended up, because of time constraints, not driving back home. A lot of guys, just after the rally, they went straight back to I-10 just to get home. I ended up leaving the car in Texas. I have some friends in Austin, and they are going to help me ship the car back. So it'll be transported back. It still hasn't arrived, but it's not even been a couple days yet. So I'm really glad I went. You know, for someone that does a lot of work on cars, you know, by the time the weekend comes around, sometimes you're just car'd out. You don't want to go do another car thing. But this was so different, and the adventure part of it was really intriguing to me. So I'm really glad that I went and you know, took my Porsche. It was well worth the adventure and the time. It does, like I say, put me back a little bit in terms of progress on my yellow car, which I thought would be done already. But I'm gonna hop right back on that one and get that thing running. So we'll be back in the shop again next week. Thanks for listening to my summary of the Hill Country Rally. I totally recommend it. It's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, rallies in the world. I don't know of any other place where 300 Porsches are out driving all at the same time.